everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm bringing you guys a massive nail polish haul. This is kind of a collective haul. So I purchased a few things off of Hot Look or Hot Look, however you pronounce it. And then Sally's had their big sale, plus I had a 30% off coupon for that. So I always take advantage and I buy some of my OPIs and China Glazes when Sally has their big sale. So I bought 20 nail polishes in total. I have a few Deborah Lippmanns, a few OPIs, an Orly, and some China Glaze. I am going to be including bottle shots and swatches for most of these polishes. So if you guys are interested in seeing what I purchased during this massive haul, just keep on watching. So the first four polishes that I purchased are from Deborah Lippmann, and I got these off of Hot Look. So these were about 50 or 60% off. The first polish I picked up is called Weird Science, and this is still a permanent polish on the Deborah Lippmann website. This is a murky lime green with some gold shimmer throughout the whole polish. This took 2 coats to be fully opaque, but it does dry down pretty gritty. I'm not sure if this is meant to be a textured polish, but it did dry down pretty textured, so you are going to need a good top coat with this one. I really like this color. This is kind of like that ugly pretty color, and I've been wanting to pick up this color for a while because I'd seen it on Hot Look quite a few times. So the next polish that I picked up is called Shake Your Moneymaker, and this polish is no longer available on the Deborah Lippmann website. This polish has smaller green glitters and larger gold glitters and kind of a tealish green base. This polish was extremely difficult to work with. It was really thick and gloopy. Even after 2 coats, there were still some bald spots. I had to go in and kind of spot treat the areas where the polish didn't fully cover. This took a lot of manipulation. The polish dried down a bit chunky on my nail, and I did need at least 2 coats of top coat to even this polish out. Now I will say, if you are willing to put the work in with this polish, the results are beautiful. I would suggest sponging on this polish versus trying to use the brush to apply it because it is a really thick polish, and I think it would apply much better with a sponge. Another thing about this polish is it's actually very difficult to remove. Typically when I'm removing glitter polishes, I like to use my little clip method where I put the cotton, an acetone soaked cotton on my finger and then clip it and let it sit for about a minute or 2 and then just pull the cotton off and it removes really easily. I had to let it sit for about 3 to 4 minutes in order for all of the glitter to come off my nail, and even then not everything came off in one swipe. This polish was a pain in the butt to remove. The next polish that I picked up is called Polka Dots and Moonbeams, and this is a white Crelly with really small matte black glitters, and this kind of reminded me of like a speckled egg. It was really easy to work with this polish. It took 2 coats to be fully opaque, and it did dry down a little textured, and it also dried matte. I think this polish looks really pretty with both a matte top coat and a glossy top coat. Unfortunately, this is another polish that's no longer available on Deborah Lippmann's website. I picked up one polish from Orly, and this color has been on my wish list for a long time. And it's Orly's Melt Your Popsicle. And this is a bright construction cone orange. I love this color. I've been wanting to pick up this color for the summer. This polish took 2 coats to be fully opaque with no white base. And this is a true neon. Normally neon polishes require a white base. This polish didn't require a white base at all, and it shows up fully opaque and fully neon. It dries down matte, but you can either use a matte top coat or a glossy top coat, and it's still going to be extremely bright. And I'm so glad I picked up this polish. This has been on my wish list for a long time. And I picked up a few polishes from China Glaze, and the first polish that I picked up is part of their permanent line, and it's called Celtic Sun. This isn't really showing up true to color. This essentially is a highlighter yellow. Now for my swatches, I applied a white base on my ring finger just to show that this polish does need to be layered over white in order to show up. 3 coats of this polish on its own will still not fully cover the nail. You can do 1 or 2 coats over a white base depending on how thick your coats are, and this polish will show up true to color. In fact, it may even be brighter than what's in the bottle. It does dry down matte just like Orly's Melt Your Popsicle, so you can either use a matte top coat or a glossy top coat. Either way, the polish is going to be very neon. The next polish that I picked up is called Rich and Famous, and this is a bright, fuchsia pink. It's pretty much the same color as my shirt. Now, I'm not sure if this is part of the permanent line. I believe it is. I looked on the China Glaze website and I didn't see that it was part of any collection. I've never seen it as part of their core line. I actually picked this up from the clearance bin. This was relatively easy to apply. It was 2 coats to be fully opaque. I didn't really have any issues with removal or staining. I have a lot of pinks in my collection, but none that are quite this bright of a pink. The next polish that I picked up is from the House of Color collection, and this is called Moonlight The Night. This was the only polish out of that entire collection that I was interested in, and luckily I found it in the clearance bin when I went into Sally's. This polish is a little hard to explain. It has like multiple sizes of copperish goldish glitter. It has these semi-transparent blue, purple, and pink glitters in there, and almost like a semi-transparent iridescent glitter. For my swatches, I did show you what this polish looks like on its own and what it looks like over white. I think this is a really pretty polish that can be either worn on its own or layered over other colors. I'm really curious to see what this will look like over a black polish, but for the swatches, I did layer it over a white polish. I picked up 2 polishes and a mini set from the Light Brights collection. It's kind of difficult to find this collection, and they only had a few of the full-size bottles on display, but I do sometimes like purchasing the minis just to see how I like some of the colors. If I end up really liking some of the colors, I will eventually buy them in a full size, but I have a couple hundred nail polishes, so there's no way I'm going to go through one of these minis unless I really, really like the color. So the first color that I picked up from the Light Brights collection is called Let's Jam, and this is like a light purple leaning towards a lavender with like this purplish bluish shift to it. I picked this up because I don't really have anything quite like this in my collection. This was a relatively easy polish to work with. It took 2 coats to be fully opaque. Didn't really give me any issues. The next polish that I picked up is called None of Your Risky Business. And the reason that I picked this one up is because I've been trying to get my hands on Peachy Keen and I couldn't find it. And I thought this was a similar color. This is pretty much your basic cream peach. It is a little bit brighter than a traditional peach. I'd say leaning more on like a neon peach. I didn't need a white base coat in order for this to show up as bright as it does in the bottle. And it took 2 coats to be fully opaque. It does dry down semi-matte or semi-glossy, however you look at it. So depending on your preference, you are going to want to apply a top coat. For the Light Bright sets, I didn't do any live swatches for these, but I did take bottle shots and still shots of these. So the first polish is called Whip It Good, and this is kind of like a muted pastel yellow. This was relatively easy to work with. 1 coat covered surprisingly well. I did do 2 coats for my picture, but this is pretty much like a standard pastel yellow. I wasn't really interested in purchasing this one in the full size. The next polish is called Papa Don't Peach. This is a pretty interesting formula for mainstream brands like China Glaze. It's actually a textured polish, and it has kind of like this gold shimmer slash glitter, like very fine micro glitter in here that dries down textured in an orangish, almost reddish base. This was a little bit thicker of a polish, and I'm not sure if it's because it's in a mini. Sometimes minis do tend to dry out a lot faster than a full-size bottle. But this is a polish I'm definitely going to be picking up in the full size. The next polish is called I'll Pink to That, and it's actually very similar to Rich and Famous. Again, this isn't really a polish that I was interested in purchasing in the full size. It's still a pretty color, so I don't regret that it came in this set. The next polish is called We Got the Beat, and this is another textured polish. It has that same gold textured micro glitter from Papa Don't Peach, but this time it's in a purple base. This was a lot less thick than Papa Don't Peach and easier to work with. It took 2 coats to be fully opaque. This is definitely another polish that I'm going to be purchasing in the full size. The next one is called What I Like About Blue. I don't really know how to describe this shade of blue. It's kind of like a light blue, not really a baby blue, but it also leans a little bit green, kind of like a light green, like a seafoamy green. And it has this light, very light gold shimmer throughout the polish. It's not as apparent on the nails as it is on the bottle. but it's still a pretty color. This took 2 coats to be fully opaque, but it is a very brush strokey polish, so you really want to be careful with your application. Even with the top coat, the brush strokes didn't fully disappear. And the last polish is called I Got a Blue Attitude, and this is pretty much a standard blurple. And this is another polish that I was really surprised by, just like I'll Pink to that. It was almost a one coater. That kind of made me realize like why the Light Brights collection has been so hard to get a hold of, is because the creams are just fabulous. They're almost one coaters, and then they have really unique polishes like the textured polishes. I'm really excited to pick up the rest of the polishes from this collection. I'll probably end up picking them up off of Amazon or eBay. Hopefully. Hopefully I'll be able to get my hands on them. The last polishes that I picked up are all OPI polishes. I've had some of these on my wish list for a while, and I was lucky enough that they actually had them in stock, or they were in the clearance bin. So the first one that I picked up is actually part of the permanent line, and it's called Cajun Shrimp, and this is a corally pinky red. I normally don't like red, but I like the fact that this isn't a true red and it's kind of like a corally red. Another thing I liked about this polish is that it actually almost covers in one coat. The second coat does deepen the color. It doesn't stain your nails. A lot of the reds that I've tried, just like blues, tend to stain your nails or your cuticles, and this doesn't do that. This is a beautiful color with a beautiful formula, and I'm really glad that I picked it up. The next 3 polishes that I picked up are from the New Orleans collection, and the first one is called Crawfishin for a Compliment. This is pretty much like a standard creamy peach. I was a little disappointed in the formula of this. This took 3 coats to be opaque. I can see this possibly being opaque in 2 coats if you do really, really thick coats. But the formula was a little runny with this one, so if you wanted to do really, really thick coats, you run the risk of flooding your cuticle. For that reason, I did 3 coats. The color is beautiful, but the formula is not quite there for me. But if you're willing to work with this polish, I do think the end results are beautiful. Another polish that I picked up from the New Orleans collection is Got Myself Into a Jam-balaya. This is kind of like a pinky peach. I do show you bottle shots of both Got Myself Into a Jam-balaya and Crawfishin for a Compliment, and you can definitely see that Crawfishin for a Compliment is more peach, and Got Myself Into a Jambalaya is a lot pinker. This formula was a lot better than Crawfishin for a Compliment. It took 2 coats to be fully opaque. It was really easy to work with. It wasn't too thin or thick of a formula. It was a pretty standard OPI formula. And the last polish that I picked up from the New Orleans collection is called I'm So Swamped. And I don't really know how to describe this shade of green. It's not bright enough to be considered like a lime green, but it's not dark enough to be considered an army green. It's a pretty unique color. I don't have a green like this in my collection. The formula was really nice with this one. It took 2 coats to be fully opaque, just like the previous polish. It wasn't too thick or thin of a formula. A very classic OPI formula. The next 3 polishes I picked up are from the Alice in Wonderland collection, and the first one is called A Mirror Escape, and this is a very unique polish. It's a metallic gold, but it has these very fine white matte glitters in there, and it's also a textured polish. This took about 2 coats to be fully opaque, and it dries down very gritty, but I really, really like those matte white glitters in here. It just gave the gold polish a little something extra. I don't know what it is about this polish. I've seen a lot of reviews on this collection and a lot of people saying that they don't like the way this polish looks, but I really do like the way this polish looks. One thing I really like about this polish is even if you put on top coat or even 2 coats of top coat and you get rid of the texture, the polish will still look like it's textured even though it doesn't feel textured. I was really excited to see a mainstream brand do such a unique polish. The second polish that I picked up is called Fearlessly Alice, and this is probably hands down one of my favorite blues ever. I love this color of blue. I love bright blues. It's kind of like a robin's egg blue. I do have another polish in my collection, and it's pretty much the same color. It's from Zoya. It's called Robin, and here just to show you a comparison, they're pretty much the same color. OPI's Fearlessly Alice is maybe just a little bit darker of a blue, but the main difference between Zoya's Robin and this polish is that this is a one coater. This has such a smooth formula that it blows Zoya's Robin out of the water. Like, this is just an amazing polish. If you like blues, especially Robin blues, I would run out and get this polish because it is a limited edition polish. And they did such a wonderful job with the formula and the color on this polish. I am so excited. I may even go and get a backup. Like I said, I have lots of polishes. And I probably only have 2 polishes that I have backups of. And this is going to be one of them. And the last polish that I picked up from the Alice in Wonderland collection is called What's the Hatter with You? And this is like a burgundy-ish plummy color. I was a little disappointed with this polish. It took 3 coats to be fully opaque and not patchy. I was a little shocked that a color like this would take so many coats to be opaque, especially since I applied it after Fearlessly Alice. But if you're willing to work with it and you're willing to do the 3 coats, it is a very, very pretty color. I don't really have a color like this in my collection. And even though it's 3 coats, I'm still glad that I picked it up. The next polish that I picked up is from the All-Star collection, and it's called Superstar Status. This is a metallic silver polish with some light yellow gold smaller glitters in here. And I really like the contrast between the gold and the silver. At first glance, this polish pretty much looks like a silver polish, but when you look closer, you can really see the contrast between that gold and silver, which makes this polish, in my opinion, a unique polish. This took 2 coats to be fully opaque, and it does dry down very gritty and very textured, so you will need a good top coat with this. And this glitter was a little difficult to remove. Definitely not as difficult as the Deborah Lippmann polish, but I still would recommend my glitter removal method for this polish. The next polish that I picked up is a discontinued polish, and it's called Chiffon My Mind. There was a polish in the Alice in Wonderland collection that was really similar to this one that I almost picked up, but I decided to go with this one instead. This is a very sheer light baby pink polish with some iridescent shimmer. And the shimmer has kind of like a pinky bluish shift to it. This took 3 coats to be fully opaque. I typically don't like frosty polishes, but for some reason I really did like this polish. And the last polish that I picked up is also another discontinued polish, and it's called My Car Has Navy-gation. This is pretty much a deep, dark navy blue that leans a little bit purple. It's not one of those navy blues that look almost black in sunlights. This is very apparently blue. This has a very odd formula. It's really runny, but it's not quite sheer enough to be considered a jelly polish. It did take 3 coats for this to be fully opaque. I pretty much purchased this polish because of another YouTuber, Lindsay from Lindsay Does Nails, did a manicure with this polish and another polish called On Pinks and Needles, which is a hot pink glitter. And I really liked that manicure. I found this polish on clearance, so I decided to pick it up just to replicate that manicure. So that's it for my massive nail polish haul. I hope you guys liked this video. Please give this video a thumbs up if you guys like hauls. And don't forget to subscribe so you get notifications of every time I upload a video. I try to upload at least once a week. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!